What's up, guys? Dual Coast Podcast, February 4th. We are here today. Me and Russ are excited this morning. We got me and Russ together. Russ, how you feeling? Feeling good?
Oh, man, I feel great. I was just telling you off stage just a second ago. I said, man, when that alarm hit this morning at 4:45, I was like, oh.
Guys, Russ is feeling it today. He's feeling it.
I always set 2 alarms, though, because it's like just in case, right? You never know what's going to happen, right?
I do the same thing. Do you do the weird alarm times, or are you an evens guy? Do you got to put it at
I set it at 4:45. I mean, it's an odd number, ends with an odd number, but I'm not 444, right?
Okay. I do the weird stuff. I have alarms for like 5:02, 5:06. Stuff like that.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, but anyway, pumped, ready, feeling good, got the coffee and, it just, pumped up for the day. Episode 5 today, man. It's crazy how we're just diving into this thing. It seems like the weeks are just rolling.
Very true.
Tuesday,
very true. Yeah.
Tuesdays seem to be coming faster.
They're coming way faster. And we're excited, guys. Honestly, we're having a good time with this. We enjoy the podcast. We hope you guys like it too. Got a lot of interesting guests coming on, a lot of good topics. Speaking of, today we're going to dive in, I think, from my aspect, I think a little bit of mental health today.
Yeah.
We've been focused a little bit on the physical attributes of things, the physical aspect of things. We've had a couple of guests who are in the fitness world, but I think today we dive a little bit into the mental aspect of things, and we're going to tie it into a little bit of the physical. So something I was talking to Russ about off stage a few minutes ago, actually, is how I go through life as far as dealing with stress. So one thing a lot of you guys know that I work in healthcare. I'm a physician assistant in New York. So a lot of times, that job itself comes with a lot of stress. And then, I try to juggle life in the mix, of course. So how do I deal with stress, or what does stress make me feel? So a lot of times, when I feel stressed, I tie in that physical attribute. I like to work out. I like to do those things in order to get my heart rate up, get my energy up a little bit. I think that helps me greatly, honestly. You may have something different. It doesn't mean that you have to do that. You may focus and channel your energy in a different direction. You may like to read to decrease stress. You may like to, go for a walk. I mean, that's physical a little bit, but, things of that nature. You may like to do those things in order to decrease stress. So for me, I like to tie in that physical attribute in order to decrease stress in my life. So one thing, as far as work and everything like that on a daily basis, I'm, dealing with a lot of patients and everything like that. It generates a lot of stress in my life. So how do I generate an outlet for myself? So I think that's one thing that people tend to neglect a lot of times, is they don't look for an outlet a lot of times. They kind of bottle up a lot of things. They don't pretty much try to expend that energy in different directions. They just take in all that energy, if that makes any sense, guys. Yeah. You're not expending anything. You're taking in all this stress and all this energy, and you're not expelling it on anything.
Yeah.
Russ, that makes sense?
It does. Makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that happens with a lot of people. And, in my life, that's my go-to thing, is that I like to expend the energy in a different direction. I find that going in the gym or just working out at home or something like that takes me out of that mental zone. So if I'm so focused on work, I'm focused on the podcast, or I'm focused on, how to, me and Russ talking and stuff like that. How do I just zone out for a little while?
Yeah.
So the way I do that is pretty much just getting in the gym, working out at home, jumping rope or something like that. Anything that's physical in my mind that takes my mind away from that other stuff.
Yeah.
And I think you have to channel your energy in different directions sometimes in order to receive that. So, there's a lot of outlets, guys. I mean, like I said before, people like to read, people like to do other things like that. So I think you have to channel your energy sometimes in order to allow the mental not to take over your mind so much.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is that the activities that you do on a daily basis, life, your kids, your spouses, finances, whatever you want to say. I think a lot of times you have to take a break from that stuff, sit back for a minute, channel your energy in a different direction in order to allow yourself to supersede and keep going and progress. Russ, that makes sense also?
It does. One of the things, that I want to touch base on with channeling your energy is oftentimes we'll have our phones with us when we're working out, right?
Yes.
because we have our headphones in,
Sure.
it's close to us or whatever. For me, because sometimes I can get interrupted by a phone call,
Right.
in my workout, or a
Right.
text message, and I'm tempted sometimes, right, to go and look at it, because it typically is going to be business, right?
Sure.
Something along the line of business. So my workout times are typically in the afternoon, Pacific Standard Time at 3:30 to 5:30. That's kind of my window that I like to get my workout in.
Right.
And during that time it's really important for me to silence my phone,
Yeah.
right? Because that is my time, right? It's my time,
Sure.
and I have to be very personable with that time. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I've got to hold it tight to me, because whether I'm on a Peloton or I'm doing band work, jump rope, I'm lifting a few weights. I only have 2 dumbbells. That's it, because I do a
Mhm.
lot of band work. But
Yeah.
I'll be in the garage for anywhere from an hour to hour and a half
Mhm.
working out, right?
Yeah.
And so during that time, I really want to be focused. And like
Yeah.
you said, you use the word channel. So I want to channel my energy for that hour to hour and a half to set aside
Sure.
everything that's going on around me,
Right.
and really hone in on what I'm doing. And that
Yeah.
time, and getting away from it is, right now we're doing this, 28-day challenge, which is walking a mile a day, adding, 50 jumping jacks and 5 minutes of stretching. So it doesn't have to all be boom, boom, boom.
Yes.
In fact, yesterday, my buddy, he texted me and he's like, "Hey, do I have to do all 50 jumping jacks, in a row?"
Gotta negotiate.
And I said, "No, do 10 sets of 5."
Little negotiation. I like that.
So he was just being sarcastic, whatever.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is that you do it,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
You
Sure.
channel it and you do it,
You
and
channel it and
and
do it.
and try to eliminate as many distractions as you possibly can.
Right, exactly. And for you, that allows you for that mental clarity, for that time. That is your, for lack of a better word, Zen time to yourself. It
Yes,
allows you for that mental clarity to get out of the world a little bit, put your phone down, get away from the technology, just you focused on you, and that's it.
yes,
And I think a lot of times that'll help you even to progress as far as business, as far as everything like that, because you have that clarity time to yourself where you
yes.
could think, you could be in your own thoughts. You don't have to focus your energy and channel your energy into different aspects in your phone, in your computer, and everything like that. So I
Yeah,
think I think that's key in order for to allow progression also.
yeah. Progression is huge.
Yep.
Clarity. I mean,
Clarity, yeah.
when you think about clarity, right? I mean, when you even if you're not in the garage or the gym or whatever workout you're doing, riding a bike, even if it's only for 10 to 15 minutes,
Sure.
right? But just stepping outside, when I was in Pittsburgh a couple of weeks ago, as bitterly cold as it was,
Right.
when I walked out the doors of the hotel, and that air hits you, right?
Sure.
It's just like, ooh, that, it's cold, right?
Yeah.
But once I start walking and moving, even as cold, and I'm dressed warm, but even as cold as it still is, breathing that
Agreed.
fresh air in just felt so good,
Yeah.
right? It
Yeah.
felt good. And
Yeah.
and that's just breathing that in as a 2 block walk to go get a cup of coffee, or whatever it is, right? I would still do, late in the days or in the evenings, I would still go out and get a mile walk in. Sometimes I did the treadmill, but the
Sure.
point is that it's so important, vitally important in our daily lives, that we step outside and we breathe in that fresh air,
Yeah.
right? We've got to have it.
Yeah. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Yeah, and again, I think that allows you to have that time to yourself. You get outside, you focus, you could get in your thoughts a little bit. You don't have to focus on anything else, and you could channel your thoughts and your energy toward that for the
Yes.
time being. And I think that allows for, like we said, that clarity, that mental fortitude where you could keep going and stuff like that. I think you have to step back sometimes, just take a look at things also. I know it's a little bit spiritual, but when you walked outside, think about it. You were breathing in that air. You were concentrating on breathing that air. You were getting in that zone for yourself and like that. It's almost spiritual in a sense. You know what I mean? Like for me, when I get in there and stuff like that, and I'm working out, it's almost spiritual in a sense. It's my, it's my Zen time. It's my focus and everything like that. It's spiritual to me in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Absolutely.
I love it. And hopefully, a few things that were, said, in this discussion, will help you, you people that might be struggling, that are listening, that you might be struggling with something that from a mental standpoint, right?
Yeah.
Because, even if in advance, you have an important meeting that's coming up, you've got an important phone call that you got to make, you've got to send an email, or you have a project to do, right? Or you're feeling a little stress at home, be it in a relationship or with family or whatever it may be. If you just step out in advance of that to gain the clarity that you need, right? That when you go into these meetings or these times or whatever, you can just, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just relax just for a moment and let your head clear out, right?
Yeah. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. It'll help you in the boardroom, as we say, or as you like to say, right? Help you in the
Yeah, I
boardroom.
love that. In the boardroom.
In the board.
The boardroom could be anything, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's
It could be anything.
anybody's. That's
Yeah.
anybody's. That's you and your businesses. That's me in medicine and stuff like that. That's our boardrooms. And for me, I like to train at night. Russ likes to train, in the middle of the day, kind of 3 to 5 type of thing. I like to train a little bit after 6, maybe even 7, my time in New York. So, I mean, it's up to you how you want to do it. It's up to you how you want to channel that energy. But in my opinion, you have to kind of take a step back from life a lot of times for that mental clarity. Get outside, do something, focus on yourself for a little bit. I don't think completely focusing all your energy toward everything you do every day, if that makes sense, in work, in life, in finances, in your relationships, and everything like that. I think you need some time for yourself at some point in the day, even if it's a half an hour, if it's 45 minutes or something like that, for that mental clarity and that Zen moment, so you can focus a little bit harder on the other things when you get yourself out of them a little bit. If you continuously focus on the same thing, I find that you will regress as opposed to progress. And this podcast is all about progression in every single aspect, mental, physical, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And you know what? There's no set time, Dan.
Yeah, of course.
There's no set time.
Yeah.
Right. You just have to do it. You have to make it a point to
it.
do it. And I think the more repetition that you do it in, on a daily basis, and it could be multiple times a day. It could be 5 minutes here, 5 minutes in the afternoon, 5 minutes in the evening, whatever. Just do it, right? Make it, be consistent about it. But if you do it every day, it's going to help you, in your daily life, right?
Yeah.
And then, even with your kids and your wife or, your fiance or you're dating or you're single or whatever, just, take people with you. Or if you don't want to do that and you just need it to be your time, then let it be your time, right?
Yeah.
But make sure, make sure you're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it'll help a lot of times, guys, with the motivation of doing other things. And I know Russ is the biggest motivator I know, honestly. And, getting yourself out there, moving and everything like that, it'll help you motivate yourself in other aspects, because as you feel better about yourself, you'll be able to carry that into different ways. You'll be able to focus that energy into different aspects of your work, your relationship, your spouse, whatever it may be, your finances, whatever you can. You'll be able to focus that energy that you've now gained from that physical attribute and channel it to other places and now make progress in those realms.
100%.
Right?
100%.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Interesting, that, there's some times, in conversations, with people, right, that come up that, struggle in this area of, mental wellness, right? A couple of weeks ago, it wasn't so much along the lines of the wellness in terms of stepping out, but in the person itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in Pittsburgh. We had minus, 7-degree temperatures there. So a couple of the schools canceled. One of the schools came back online and said, "Hey, we'll let's do, a Zoom or Google Meet." And so I was in my hotel room, had the class in front of my laptop, and it was really cool. So these were 6th and 7th graders that I was sharing with. And during this conversation that I was having with these kids, it was interesting because a lot of the schools that I've been talking to are of the younger grades. So this was an opportune time to speak to a little bit older, right? 6th, 7th, junior high.
Sure.
And it was awesome. And so, I didn't talk so much about the books, that I've written, for families and kids, but I really kind of took the approach of turning off, pausing, technology, know, even at a young age, and some of the responses that I got from even the, you know, second and third graders of how much time, you know, is spent inside and on the phone or on playing games or whatever it may be. You know, there were things that were, you know, a distraction is what I'm saying. There was a distraction to these kids' lives, and it's on a daily basis, right?
Sure.
So when I talked to these kids, I had this sixth grader who replied at the end because I opened it up for questions. And at the end, you know, when I opened it up, this gal, she said, well, I don't really particularly have a question per se. I have a statement. And I said, okay, let me hear your statement. So she said, well, what you made me think about today is that if I work on myself and I become a better person, then I can impact the people that are around me to become a better person.
Huge.
Oh my gosh. I was like, wow. I mean, I honestly, Dan, I was welling up with tears behind my glasses when he made that statement. And then, you know, a teacher piggybacked on that. And it was just so beautifully said, you know, because if you think about it, it might not be work related. It could be family related, but it could be just self-induced.
Absolutely.
Right? Self-induced stress because, you know, you're trying to find an outlet, but your outlet is through TV, video games, technology, swiping. And then pretty soon 5 hours goes by and we have done one thing. And that's really like when I talk to kids, because, you know, they're in the creative side in their thinking in their lives. Like, you guys got to use your brains. You got to create. You've got to use your mind for your future, right? And not only immediately, but for the long term. And maybe it's reading, or, you know, but, you know, the important thing is not to spend so much time in that zone of hours of wasted time. And it's happening down the chain. And so, you know, when you think about mental illnesses and you think about all of those things that are going on in life, even at a young age, a lot of it is self-induced because we're just consumed by technology.
Without a doubt.
And we're building this up, and we're also isolating ourselves from friends and from family. So in doing that, we're building this lifestyle that is not healthy. And it goes back to COVID, right? We were all indoors. And we're still we're still dealing with that. You know, today, because there was no school in session. Everything was online. So people are in their own rooms. People are hanging out by themselves. Families, you know, are locked in their house. And you know, and still to this day, people are not going back to work full time, you know, in the office. Right. So when you think about that is an impact. And that is the impact of why we have a lot of stress, why we have a lot of problems, why we have a lot of sicknesses and diseases and you know, diabetes and cancer and a lot of this stuff, you know, because we're not eating right and we're not physically taking care of ourselves.
Correct. Yeah, I think a lot of times the outlet for even those diseases, a lot of times, is just to give people medicine. It's just to throw medications at a lot of these disease processes, especially diabetes and stuff like that. The underlying cause starts to get overlooked at some point. And a lot of that has to do with the daily stress and stuff like that and the way people react to that. So their dietary management, their workout regimens and stuff like that, the way they react to stress a lot of times. And I think stress contributes to a lot of disease processes at the same time, because the diabetes, we discussed some stats before, Russ, the heart attacks, the strokes and everything like that. Stress is a huge contributing factor. And a lot of people don't find a way to reduce that stress in some manner or some shape or some form or some way. And a lot of times, you know, they just go to the pharmacologic therapy for a lot of these things, diabetes. The biggest thing now out there is these GLP-1s, Ozempic and everything like that. That's everybody is taking that for weight loss. And that's a huge thing. But a lot of times the root cause is just overlooked. Weight loss management, stress reduction, things of that nature. And that'll play back into both our mental health and our physical health at the same time. So, I mean, that's my opinion. Russ, you want to go over those stats real quick that we talked about?
Oh, man. Listen to this. Heart rate, stroke deaths per year in America, 944,000 plus. Cancer diagnosis, 1.7 million in the United States. 600,000 deaths per year with cancer related, right? 600 plus. But this is the one, man, right here. 38 million Americans living with diabetes. 38 million. Think of that. That's a staggering number, right?
Massive number.
I was out for my walk yesterday, and I ran into a buddy of mine. I've done some landscape work for him, but he's just a good friend. He's an older semi-retired guy, and he's a surfer, he's a swimmer, he's in the ocean every single day, right? Cool. Even in the winter. And he takes a swim, he'll go out and paddle, he'll surf or whatever, but he loves water. I ran into him on my walk, and we were talking about, he said, it looks like you've lost some weight. And I said, well, thank you. I mean, not purposely. It's just that I'm consistent with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right. And being consistent. So making that decision to take that first step and saying, yes, I'm ready. I want to take this first step. And a lot of people struggle with that first step.
Sure.
But doing it, right? And the more that you do it, I'm telling people, let's get out and let's walk a mile a day. Right. But easily I can get to a mile and a half to almost 2 miles like that. And I'm channeling that energy, but it's allowing me to just breathe. It's allowing me to get away. It's allowing me to get out, but it's taking the step and then being consistent with this. And so not only is it eating right, but it's also physically moving every day, Dan. Physically moving every day. We have to move.
Without a doubt.
Some capacity, at least 15 to 20 minutes. If you can carve that time out every day, that's the most important thing, to bring these numbers down, because these numbers are staggering.
That's massive. And I'm sure, obesity plays a huge role in this too, guys, as far as the diabetes and the strokes and everything like that, and the cancer. A lot of the diagnoses that Russ just mentioned have to do with strictly dietary management and nutritional management and exercise. If those factors were actually played into a bigger role, a lot of those numbers would decrease dramatically, especially the diabetes, because weight loss management is one of the number one things disregarding diabetes type 1. But, as far as diabetes type 2 in this country, I'm sure 38 million of those, that's a staggering number with type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
A lot of that would be completely reduced with weight loss, with exercise, with mental changes and everything like that too, guys, because if those people have the drive or they have the mental fortitude to move forward, progress physically, they would lose weight, they would have better dietary management, they would decrease the diabetes, they would get themselves off the medication, stuff like that. It all spirals in one way or another. You could either spiral backwards or spiral forwards. Is that right, Russ? Do you agree with that?
I 100% agree. Because when I was struggling with weight years and years ago, it was a conversation that I had with a buddy of mine. He's a former NFL player, played, I believe, 8 years. And I was actually at his house. We were working. It was late in the day, and he goes, "Hey, we're going to barbecue up some hamburgers. You want to stay?" Yeah, I'd love to. Okay. So went in the house, hung out with the fam, and I noticed this was like in the month of March, maybe April. Mm-hmm. So right, not too far from summer. And so Jim, after cooking up everything, he's like, I asked him the question. I said, "Hey, you don't have a bun on your burger. What's up with that?" And he goes, "Well, usually around this time of the year, I start to just basically push away, right, from breads."
Yeah.
Right. During the wintertime, I'll eat a little bit more breads and stuff like that. But I push away from those kinds of things, because if I'm eating those, I'm intaking, I can't be a little bit more stream in my physique and my body. And I want to feel better about myself when I'm putting on, some board shorts. I'm going to the beach. I don't want to feel like I'm hanging over my waistline. And I started to calculate, like, in my own life. I went home that day and I was like, dang, man, I eat bread all the time.
Think about it, right? Yeah.
So when I started processing that and started eliminating those things, I do eat bread, but it's very, very minimal to what I was doing back there. I was eating like 5-6 pieces of bread a day, right? Which is a ton.
It's a ton.
And I was 30 pounds heavier than what I am right now. 30 pounds. So I changed my diet. I went into grazing. Usually eating a banana and some granola bar in the morning. And then I'll graze on like nuts and fruit, throughout the day.
Sure.
And then usually eat a salad or chicken salad, for lunch. And then, a little bit heavier dinner.
Yeah.
And I'm golden.
Yeah.
Right. So it all comes down to choice.
Sure.
What we want to put in, how much we want to put in, when we're going to push away. when we're going to step outside, when we're going to walk, when we're going to move. It's all about choice. And I just want to encourage those that are listening to begin to choose right.
Yeah.
Make the right decisions. Evaluate yourself. Evaluate what you're doing. Evaluate everything you're doing, your family, what they're doing. The food that you're buying at the grocery store, what kind of food that you're buying at the grocery store, how much volume are you eating 3 meals a day? At that time, I was eating 3 meals a day.
Yeah.
Well, my body can't. I'm 57. I can't eat 3 meals. If I do, they've got to be very, very small. Right? Because all of a sudden, I'm filling up, and I'm feeling like, a lot of us will gorge at the noon hour, right? And then what happens immediately after?
Tired.
Right. Tired. Yeah. Right. So I want my lunch meal to be light.
Yeah.
So when I'm done, I feel good. I've got just enough to give me energy to keep moving and keep going forward. I don't want to feel sleepy at 1 o'clock.
Right. No, without a doubt. That's all about the choices that you make, guys. Honestly, it's from a dietary regimen. And it traces back to what Russ was saying before about the sedentary lifestyle. That kind of got promoted a lot during COVID. People, being at home, being on their phones, on their computers and stuff like that. And that kind of promoted the whole sedentary idea. And then from there, I think it spiraled a little bit with the dietary regimens and stuff like that. People fell off. People gained a lot of weight during COVID because they weren't able to go to the gyms. They weren't able to leave their homes, everything like that. And I think a lot of that kind of stayed around. It didn't actually, it definitely got better. Don't get me wrong. It definitely progressed a little bit. But I think a lot of that mindset and a lot of people still stayed around that sedentary idea. And that's going to weigh in on their comorbidities, like Russ was saying about the strokes, the diabetes, the heart attacks, the cancer, everything like that. And then on their mental health, because the fact that they're sedentary all the time weighs in on their mental health also. Yeah. They're not moving around. They don't feel good about themselves. They don't have that self-confidence. That's going to weigh down on both factors as far as mental and physical attributes. So I think a lot of times, you have to just step back and take a look at, like Russ was saying, he was eating 5 to 6 pieces of bread a day. I'm not saying some people shouldn't eat 5 to 6 pieces of bread a day, but you have to think about your lifestyle choices as you're eating all of those meals. What's in each meal? What am I putting in my body? What are the ingredients in this? Is it this? Is it that? Is it, healthy for me to be ingesting this? Am I a diabetic? Should I really be eating this? You have to think about those life choices as you're sitting there. I should really be doing this. I should really be doing that. And if you could tell yourself that, right away that you have that in you. You have that in you. You could make that change. You already know that you're in the wrong in doing something of that. Yeah. So if you know that I should really be doing this right now, I should really be in the gym, I should really be out for a walk and stuff like that, but I'm sitting on the couch. If you have that drive in you already, you just need to channel it in some way and get going. Yeah. Once you get going, you will develop that motivational aspect. Once you get that motivational aspect, you could do anything from it. And you could keep channeling that into different directions, whether it, like I said before, whether it be in your life, whether it be in, family, work, whatever, you could keep progressing. So my opinion is if you, stay in that sedentary position, it's going to weigh on you in a lot of different factors. And you're only going to spiral downward. Yeah. If you want to progress, all you got to do is just have that mental aspect in you, that mental clarity to say, okay, if I do this, I could keep doing this and I could keep doing that. And then I could do this, then I could do that. And that's what me and Russ do all the time. We talk about this all the time. Yes, if we start this, we could go from there. And yes, Russ, we're going to talk about this, and then we're going to progress to this. We talk about it even with the podcast itself, how we're going to do things. We have the discussion of what we're going to talk about, how we're going to progress it, how we're going to move forward. We do it all the time on a daily basis. And, then I carry that into every single attribute of my life.
Absolutely. Yeah. We definitely feed off each other.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. That's why we do this.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Well, we going forward, right?
Yeah.
We have next week a great guest.
Yeah. So, guys, we have an awesome guest next week. It's going to be Chris Michael Rushing is going to be on the show, guys. From a fitness aspect, he's great. He's huge with mobility. He's huge with different types of training. He's great with mindset. He's a motivational speaker, guys. He's going to be awesome to have on the show. He's going to give you guys some great tips. He's going to talk about some motivational aspect, how to get you guys going, drive, and everything like that. And I think also, guys, he's going to be great for mental health. He's going to talk about a ton of things. And Chris has a different modalities of the way he does things. So it's going to be interesting to our guests, I think. It's not the traditional gym route a lot of times. He does a lot of stuff with stretching, a lot of mobility, yoga. He's going to be a really interesting guest, guys. I'd highly recommend tuning in next week.
That's awesome, man. I cannot wait. We've had some great guests so far. Like Steppy, Delaney Wallace, and now I'm really looking forward to having Chris on the show next week. So hopefully you guys next Tuesday, 5:30 Pacific Standard, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tune in, but you can also catch us on all of our channels, at a later time.
Yep. Guys, check us out. Our Spotify, our YouTube, all our handles are Dual Coast Podcast on Instagram, on TikTok, on X, on Facebook. Guys, check us out. Go to our pages, subscribe, like us, leave some comments. We'll get back to you guys. And I'll let Russ take it away here.
Going off of our topic of discussion today, it's very fitting when you think about this, because our statement, the end of the show, we leave it with this, we leave it with you, is that wellness is not about perfection, but it's about progress. And that's exactly what we're talking about today. When we talk about mental and physical wellness, and today we spend a lot of time on the mental aspect, is making sure that it's not about perfection in your daily steps, but it's about progress. Each and every day, you're trying to improve some aspect of your life. And so we just want to leave you with that word today. Be encouraged. Wellness is not perfection, but it's progress. Make progress starting today.
That's right. Dual Coast Podcast, guys, episode 5. Thank you for joining us.